The world was distracted. This alliance shifted global power. In the summer of 2025, while the world was looking the other way, a series of moves made in Ouagadougou began to change the future of Africa forever. This isn't a story about a massive treaty or a global summit. It's quieter, more strategic, and maybe far more important. It involves nuclear power, elite soldiers, and a plan to shift the balance of power across an entire continent. For years, the West has looked at this part of the world through a narrow lens of instability and terrorism. They saw a problem that needed to be managed. But they missed what was really going on. They missed the quiet handshakes, the closed-door meetings, and the cargo planes landing in the dead of night. This is the story of the alliance forged in the shadows between Burkina Faso and Russia. And it's a geopolitical earthquake that almost nobody saw coming. To understand how we got here, you first have to understand the world's great distraction. For the better part of a decade, the Sahel region of West Africa has been caught in a storm. A relentless wave of jihadist insurgency has torn nations apart, created a massive humanitarian crisis, and pulled in militaries from across the globe. The headlines were all about conflict, coups, and chaos. France, the former colonial power, had thousands of troops on the ground. The United States was running drone bases, and the UN was spending billions on peacekeeping. From the outside, it just looked like another forever crisis. But that was the distraction. Because on the ground, something profound was happening. A new generation of leaders was rising, and they were tired of playing by the old rules. In Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, military governments took power, one after the other. They all shared a common message: a rejection of old colonial ties, especially with France, and a fierce demand for real sovereignty. They argued that decades of Western help hadn't solved the terrorism problem. In fact, many felt it had made things worse. So, they did something no one expected. They kicked out the French troops. They demanded foreign bases be closed. And then, they joined forces, forming the Alliance of Sahel States, or AES. It started as a mutual defense pact. A signal to the world that an attack on one was an attack on all. But it quickly grew into something more, the foundation for a new political and economic bloc, dead set on forging its own path. This created a huge power vacuum. And into that vacuum, a new player stepped forward, not with lectures on democracy, but with an offer of partnership on their terms. That player was Russia. Every big geopolitical shift is driven by personalities, and this one is no different. At its center is Burkina Faso's interim president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Taking power in his mid-30s, Traoré is not your typical politician. He speaks with the fire of a revolutionary, often comparing his country's struggle to anti-colonial heroes like Thomas Sankara. His message is simple and powerful: Burkina Faso will no longer be a client state. He's been crystal clear that he wants win-win partnerships, and he's looking for new allies who will treat his country as an equal. His vision is nationalistic, populist, and sharply critical of what he calls Western neocolonialism. He didn't just want new friends, he wanted to completely rewire his country's place in the world. He started by moving to nationalize key resources, like gold mines, to make sure the profits served his people, not just foreign companies. This ambition found a very willing partner in Moscow. For Russia, the timing was perfect. Locked in a wider confrontation with the West, the Kremlin was on the hunt for new alliances, especially in the global south. Africa, with its vast resources, growing population, and strategic real estate, became a top priority. Russia saw a chance to do a few things at once: push out Western influence, get access to valuable resources, secure allies in the UN, and project itself as a restored global power. So, when Traoré and his neighbors started looking for partners who didn't come with the same old strings attached, Moscow rolled out the red carpet. It wasn't just a partnership of convenience, it was a perfect match of strategic interests. Burkina Faso wanted a powerful ally to guarantee its sovereignty. Russia wanted a reliable foothold in Africa. The stage was set. The alliance that has been taking shape isn't just a simple military agreement. It's a full-blown strategic partnership, built on three powerful pillars designed to remake Burkina Faso and lock in Russian influence for decades. The first, and most audacious pillar, is energy. Specifically, nuclear energy. In June of 2025, Burkina Faso signed a landmark agreement for Russia's state nuclear agency, Rosatom, to build the country's first nuclear power plant. You can't overstate how huge this is. This is a country where less than a quarter of the people have reliable electricity. A nuclear power plant isn't just an infrastructure project, it's a quantum leap into the future. The deal goes way beyond just construction. It includes creating a national nuclear regulator, training a generation of Burkinabe nuclear scientists in Russia, and even developing nuclear tech for medicine and farming. For President Traoré, this is the ultimate symbol of sovereignty. The power to fuel his nation's future on his own. For Russia, it's a strategic masterstroke, creating a technological dependency that could last for a century. The second pillar is security. While the West focused on counterterrorism, Russia offered regime security. Russian military advisors and equipment have flowed into the country, not just to fight insurgents, but to solidify the new government's power. This cooperation is being formalized through the Alliance of Sahel States, which Russia has committed to backing militarily. Russia is providing the training, intelligence, and hardware the AES needs to become a real, unified military force, one that can tackle the region's security threats on its own terms. This is creating a pro-Russian military bloc in a region where Western forces were dominant just a few years ago. The third pillar is the economic lifeline. This alliance isn't just about guns and atoms, it's about money. Bilateral trade is surging, and Russian companies are moving in, striking deals in mining, agriculture, and technology. A joint commission was even set up to fast-track these projects, making sure the economic relationship deepens right alongside the military and energy ties. This three-pronged strategy, energy, security, and economy, forms a powerful, interlocking system that binds the two nations together. What we're all witnessing is the geopolitical map being redrawn in real time. It's complex, it's moving fast, and it's a story that is mostly happening under the radar. If you think these are the stories that actually matter, and you want to keep getting a deeper look at the forces shaping our world, then take a second to subscribe and hit that notification bell. It's the best way to support the channel and make sure you never miss a deep dive like this one. So what does all this actually mean? This growing Burkina Faso-Russia partnership is not a minor event. It's a geopolitical earthquake, and the tremors are shaking the foundations of the old order in Africa. The most immediate impact is the collapse of French influence in the Sahel, a region Paris considered its backyard for over a century. The expulsion of French troops and the pivot to Moscow by Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger is a historic rejection of the former colonial power. For France, this is more than a strategic setback, it's a blow to its very identity as a global power. For the United States, the situation is a strategic nightmare. The West is being outmaneuvered in a region that's critical for both counterterrorism and resource competition. The US has tried to re-engage with these new leaders, but it's finding that Russia's approach is more flexible, more direct, and isn't burdened by the same historical baggage. This emerging pro-Russian bloc creates a new front in the global competition with Moscow, one that stretches all the way from Eastern Europe to the heart of West Africa. Perhaps the biggest consequence is the empowerment of the Alliance of Sahel States. What started as a security pact is now evolving into something much bigger. Backed by Russia, the AES is emerging as a new center of power, one that is explicitly anti-Western and determined to offer a different model for African development. They've announced plans for deeper integration, with goals of creating a common passport and joint military forces, laying the groundwork for a genuine confederation. This alliance serves as a powerful new template. It shows other nations that it's possible to break from traditional Western orbits and build new strategic partnerships. Ultimately, the story of this alliance is about more than just Burkina Faso or Russia. It's about a fundamental shift in who holds power in the world. For decades, the script was written by a handful of Western nations. They decided who the good guys and bad guys were, and they set the rules of the game. That era is clearly ending. Leaders like Ibrahim Traoré are showing that there are other options on the table. They're leveraging the competition between great powers to get deals that they believe will better serve their own people. Of course, this partnership is a high-stakes gamble. For Burkina Faso, it promises energy independence and security on a scale that was once unimaginable. But it also risks tying its future to a single powerful patron. For Russia, it's a major win in its campaign to reshape the global order. The Joint Commission and deepening ties aren't the end of this story, they're the beginning. They institutionalize a long-term alignment that will be very hard to reverse. This alliance, forged while the world was distracted, is just the first tremor. What comes next could change the map of Africa forever.